Welcome to Racheal Fosu TV. Today we have with us Nurse MARC LAQUI. Thank you for being here with us.
Of course.
We appreciate your time. We want to talk a little bit about caregiving from the perspective of someone who does it vocationally. Okay. That's you. Tell us a little bit about how you manage doing that on a day-to-day basis, day in and day out.
So, as a nurse, we're as a career, we're kind of drawn to taking care of people.
Right.
That's kind of a second nature thing for us.
Right.
And in my department, I kind of do it at a point where the patients are the most vulnerable, because in the operating room, that's kind of the it may not be the last ditch effort, but we're performing intervention that will either make things better or not. Wow. And 99 times out of 100, we can make things better. So that's kind of why I do what I do, because of the department that we're in. We can kind of do that. Wow. And like I said, 99 times out of 100, we're helping somebody. Wow. And not a lot of people in a hospital can say that. Right. And that's why I think I was drawn to where I work, and I was drawn to the profession, that I can say, there's 65 cases today, and indirectly or directly, I had a role in helping those 65 people. Wow. And you take that over a week, over a month, over a year, over 13 years that I've been doing it, it kind of, it makes you feel good.
We're blessed to have you in our world. Now, that must still take a toll, because you're also a dad. Mm-hmm. Right? You're a husband, and you're a community person. Right. So to have to do that on a daily basis and come home and do all the other things you need to do must take a toll. Does it?
It does. And nurses are traditionally the worst patients. They normally, because of who we are, we'll put everybody else first, and we'll keep ourselves till the very end, maybe till the detriment sometimes. Wow. But you try to find your different outlets. Right. For me, it's getting up really early and working out and getting a workout in. Right. And that's kind of what I do. And then I have stuff with the kids. I'll coach and I'll do whatever, and that's kind of my outlet. Okay. But I try to always find that kind of thing, that I'm not 100% pouring myself into my job and not, forgetting about everything else. Wow. Wow.
Yeah. Now, I also know that you're a man of faith, and tell me about that and how that informs your caregiving.
So my family's always been a very religious family, and I've kind of tailored it to my situation and what I've done, but I've always kept in the back of my mind, there's always a reason for what happens, and there's always despite it not being an outcome that I would like, there's a reason why that happened. Right. And, I just kind of keep that in the back of my mind all the time, that there's a plan, and I just have to kind of, be faithful to that plan, and know that, for whatever reason, things happen for a reason.
And play your role.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think for caregivers, that's hard sometimes. Yeah. Because you can almost get into what I would say is sort of a God complex, in thinking that if you're at the right place at the right time at all times, you can change outcomes. Yeah. And that may be true sometimes, but ultimately we have to be able to accept that we've done our best and we've played our role, and then things would play out as they do. And that's really hard to do.
Especially when I work where I work, because like I said, 99 times out of 100, everything's great. Right. But that 1 out of 100 times where we're doing everything that we can, and despite the meds, despite the effort, despite the manpower, despite whatever we're doing, it just wasn't meant to be. Right. It's hard in that moment. You're like, could I have done one other thing? Right. But there was a case just recently that this was a transplant patient. They, got very sick, and we couldn't, and they had the new kidney for maybe a week, and then they developed an issue, and we lost that person. But we were able to kind of help clean that person up after they passed, right? And make sure that they were presentable to the family, and there was a group of maybe like 5 of us that really put
the extra effort in.
Well, we know that it's important that we need to clean this up, clean the patient up, and if it was our family, we treat everybody like our family members. Wow. It's heartbreaking, but at the same time, we're there, and we have to provide that not service, but kind of care, no matter what. Yeah. They're after and before and whatever. So it's hard, but we're playing a role, and that was our part that day.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's just amazing. Now, as a caregiver, you see people come into a hospital. I experienced it. We came in not having any clue what we were walking into, right? And you start to see things go south pretty quickly, and you become a caregiver overnight, and you see people go through that, and it must be such a shocking thing to see happen. Yeah. You've seen it time and time again, but for that person, it's their first time. Right. What do you say to that person?
It's you never have the right words to say. A lot of the times we don't go through the motions, but we want to provide as much support and sense of confidence in the team that you'll see. If I see a family member, I'll see them for maybe 5 minutes and say, you've got a great team. This team's worked with this doctor a lot, and in that time period, you want to be able to develop that sense of confidence for them that we're going to take care of their family member. Right. But a lot of times it's difficult. There aren't any easy words. Right. And being and having to deal with a lot of times we'll get people that have come in several times, and then we get to know because we see them, and we get to know them, develop a little bit of a rapport with them. But a lot of times it's just we do our best, and that's as much as we can promise. Right. But we don't want to. We want to avoid giving false hope, but at the same time, we don't want them to think, oh, this person's taking care of my family member, and they don't know what they're doing. Right. Yeah. Absolutely. So, we need to know that. Right. Yeah. So. Yeah. Now, personally, I know you had the opportunity to observe and be a part of supporting your mom as she caregave for your dad. Right. Tell us a little bit about that, because that was kind of a compound effect. It was. So because she was kind of stuck here when my dad got sick, it was being able to provide for her and know that she was being provided for. Right. At the same time, trying to as a healthcare professional, making sure that everything is being done the right way and taken care of, and working in a sister system, I was able to kind of get some inside information, but it's hard because she says that she's strong, she says that she's fine, and she's a physician herself, and she almost working in the business, and too much information sometimes is bad. Oh yeah, I can't imagine. Yeah. So you think you're going down one path, and then you're not going down another path, and you think you're thinking one thing and it could be another. So it was difficult because she was removed from her environment, yet she didn't want to be too far away from my dad. Right. So whether she wanted to stay where the hospital provided her lodging, and it was just checking in with her every day, being with her every day. Okay. I would work from 7 to 3, and then I would go from Livingston to Newark and be there from 3 to 7, and then I'd go home. Yeah. So it was just knowing that she was taken care of and trusting that she was as well as she was, and still being able to kind of do what's best for both her and my dad when he was sick. Wow. I applaud you, because I don't know what I would have done in that situation. Coming from work caregiving to go through that some more is quite a lot. Yeah. Now, you had the opportunity to read this book. You were one of our fast readers. I couldn't put it down. Tell us what you thought of it. Tell us what you learned. Tell us what was different. So, I think the biggest part was the struggle that you went through to get the right kind of care for Dom. And, just trusting that the system would help you.
Right.
And maybe there was other things it could have done. Maybe there were other resources they could have reached out to. But, you go into a place and they say, this is where you should go and this is who you should talk to. And this is, they're kind of like, okay, sure, that's fine.
Right.
And maybe if there was, one thing or another where you could have said, reached out to somebody, said, oh, let's talk to this specialist, or let's talk to the people here, and let's fast track him getting transferred, and maybe that would have made a difference. That's what kind of struck me, as there was he got stalled. Like it was 2 steps forward, 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. And that was, frustrating, because it's like, oh, if you only could have, done this and this, and you got to talk to this, and I could have reached out, and whatever, knowing whatever, at the time you didn't know.
No, right.
That's what really struck me, as there was like a handful of times, like, oh, we could have gone to this, or I could have talked to this person, and it's frustrating because not knowing the ins and outs of the healthcare system, and the fact that you got to go jump through so many hoops and all those things. Somebody, even knowing a few people, like you knew a physician in New York, and you knew this, and it's still difficult. So that's what struck me.
Wow.
That oh gosh, if it was one more thing, maybe it could have made
and I struggled with that for a while, because I said the same thing, and that you bring up a good point, which is something that we need to expose more, which is how do we better educate people who are walking into hospitals with these kind of crises showing up at their doorstep. What is that quick way that we can educate them and get them to the right resources? And that's not there right now. And so we're hoping here to be able to do some of that. So I think we'll hopefully have you back to be able to help us do one of those how-to sessions. That helps people just be able to quickly watch a video that says, these are some things you should think about that you aren't thinking about right now in this moment. And maybe we can make a little bit more of a difference that way. Any other things that you think I may have missed that you think I should cover for caregivers out there, if you had the opportunity to speak to them, that you would say?
I think, what came across in reading the book was you did as much as you could, as you thought you could, to advocate for you and Dom and the family. But I think the one thing that I would say is don't stop. Don't take the first word that somebody says, that if the social worker says we got it, keep on them. Don't believe them. And if you need to go above somebody's head, do it. Don't be afraid to do that, because a lot of times people are afraid. They're intimidated. It's a big system, and you're the professionals. You know what you're talking about. Sometimes people, people take for granted. People that work in healthcare just take it for granted. Like, oh, this is just another family member that's being annoying. Be annoying. It's your family member. And as much as it's cliche, but the squeaky wheel does get the grease, and you just have to not be afraid to keep on advocating for yourself, because you had great nursing care, you had great physicians, but sometimes they can only do so much, and the family member, really, you just have to keep advocating. That's the biggest thing I say. Just keep advocating.
Keep advocating. Thank you so much, Mark.
Of course.
I appreciate your time today.
Anytime.
And we will have you back.
You got it.
Thanks.
You got it.
Thank you so much for watching Racheal Fosu TV. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe to the channel. If you would like us to feature your story, submit it at rachealfosu.com. Thank you. Bye-bye.